It's Rollerball Rocco taking on Flying Fuji Yamada.
Yeah.
It's from the 28th of April, 1987. It takes place at a time when, over in America, WrestleMania 3 has just happened. So, watching this match, and I was kind of going, is it too much to think that this is Britain's answer to the classic Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat match, where Rocco has gone, why don't we just fill this match with nothing but action and show those Yanks how it's done? It's on YouTube. Alan Coverdale 713 added, Rocco was a cheating prat.
The thing that gets me is like that I don't know why he was hated as a heel, because like is it just because he was wearing like American clothes or something? I'm not really sure where
do you know what I think it is? I think he's too rough.
He's a ruffian.
People don't like the ruffians.
Right, okay.
At this point in British wrestling, the best way to be loathed was to be too good a wrestler.
Right, okay.
If you sat out and were a bit sort of like, I'll take the fight to him, people were like, do not like this
right,
guy's
okay.
attitude.
You want a big tall fat man patting his belly and going, ooh, belly. Like, right. You don't want someone, even if they look like Bob Carroll G's, running at you full pelt and tossing you out of the ring.
You want a big lazy old man like Johnny Quango. you know where you are with Johnny Quango. It's not going to be exciting, but you know what? He's gonna glad hand you on the way to the ring. He's going to smile and he's going to do his best. Rocco comes in, piss and vinegar and fire, and everyone just looks at him and just goes, "Oh, I bet." Do you know what? I bet he drives his Datsun fast. I would not like to live next to him. You'd hear the rock music all
driving his Daimler around.
Yeah, and his wife, she wears very expensive clothes. I do not know where they get them on. Britain had a long tradition of welcoming Japanese performers over a number of years, and also promoting them very, very heavily as fan favourites, surprisingly. And this had started with the performer Sammy Lee, who was a guy called Satoru Sayama, who would go back to Japan after his excursion in the UK and become the first Tiger Mask. He was followed by someone who was billed as his brother. He wasn't a brother, he was simply another Japanese man, who was called Quick Kick Lee. And Quick Kick Lee was the wrestler Akira Maeda, and he would set up the UWF, which was a sort of worked shoot promotion. Right. So both of them huge, influential stars in Japan. And the third Japanese star who came over in 86 was Flying Fuji Yamada. We would, of course, know Flying Fuji Yamada under a different name and with an entirely different head, wouldn't we?
Would, yes. It's Jushin Thunder Liger, who has wrestled everyone, everywhere, forever. And he only retired a couple of years ago.
He has. What's really interesting is you are seeing the same happening in reverse these days, where you're having British performers who are actually making names for themselves in Japan. Probably the biggest name on that list would be Chris Brooks, your chum, who you went and did karaoke with.
I think he fought Liger, Jushin Thunder Liger, in Britain. I think he kicked him in the balls.
Did he?
I think in the match, I think he kicked him in the balls, Mark.
Oh, terrible.
I
mean, everything.
Very impolite.
The more I hear
Chris
about
Brooks.
Chris Brooks, the more I think he and I are not going to get along.
Man.
Ladies and gentlemen, out of the red corner over here on my left, that sensational young man from Japan, and of course the defending champion, Fuji
Yamada, they mentioned he's from Hiroshima, and I did listen to that, and I was like, they've gone. Well, where should we bill him from? Where should we... Tokyo? Is it Tokyo? And they've gone, well, can't you think of anywhere else? And someone's gone, what about Hiroshima? And they've gone, fantastic.
Yes.
But Yamada was actually born in Hiroshima, so that's quite astonishing. His name is not Fuji Yamada, it's Keiichi Yamada. And the Keiichi was obviously something that was a little bit, Keiichi. Fuji.
Yeah. We'll go with Fuji. Yeah.
Fuji's as far as we can go. We've all heard of Mount Fuji. So why don't we call you Fuji?
Superb. Now, on my left-hand side here, a nice young man literally flown in today from Japan, Fuji Yamada. Welcome to you, Fuji.
Hello.
And are you hoping to have plenty of wrestling here in England? Right. Well, I'll tell you what that says in just a couple of minutes.
And so out he comes. Now, Keiichi Yamada, he was an amateur wrestler during his high school days. And after leaving high school, he went to New Japan's dojo because he wanted to be a professional wrestler. But the dojo rejected him because he didn't meet their height requirements. He was only 5'7". And obviously in the 1980s, height was so much more of a barrier breaking into the business. And Yamada decided that he would travel the world effectively to see where he could fit in. He went to Mexico, traditionally a haven for the smaller wrestler, and he began training in Mexico. By his own admission, he was almost starving while he was there, and visited by some New Japan officials while he was over there. And they took pity on him, effectively, and said, you know, if you're willing to starve in Mexico, maybe you've got a bit of fighting spirit. And they invited him to go back to Japan, train in their dojo. And he trained alongside Keiji Muto, Masahiro Chono, and Shinya Hashimoto. Now, by continuing his training, he ends up having his debut match in 1984 at the age of just 19. And he spent the next 2 years in Japan as a young lion. So it's basically learning while on the job. He was not, if you like, a hot prospect. And in a training camp that had those previously mentioned three men, of course not. No one could have stood out against them. But what they do is they say, let's send you out on excursion. You can learn a bit more. And he ends up going to Britain, where he wrestled for All Star. He used the name Flying Fuji Yamada. Flying has always been a thing as well in wrestling, where that is not the name of a bad guy. That attribute, flying, tends to nod to the fact that you're a good guy. So he's got as much as they can really load him up with in Britain to kind of go, don't boo this little lad.
He's doing his best.
You know, he's doing his best. And you know what? Sometimes it's absolutely lovely. It really is. This match takes place then in 87, and watching it, I mean, it could be 1974. The sport just did not modernise.
No.
It's exactly the same in the early 70s as it is in the
very
late
squishy,
80s.
Matt. Very squishy. I don't know what they've done to make it squishy, but it feels squishy and old and tired.
Everything looks like it's been soaked in tea, doesn't it? If you find an old plaster, it's just, I look at an old plaster and I sort of go, wrestling.
It's just like, round 2, 14 rounds to go. It's like, why did British wrestling make it so difficult for themselves to build? And good God, 14 rounds to go. Thanks, Ken.
What's really funny about this, though, is this match is 23 minutes long. And I think an American match of 23 minutes, you feel every minute of that.
Yeah.
And this, it sort of flies by. I don't think the rounds help necessarily. No. But the guys in it are just absolutely frenzied. Yeah. The whole thing is thrilling. When he comes out, Yamada comes out and there's a guy carrying the Japanese flag. The biggest flag I've ever seen in my life. It is at least 8 foot long. At one point, the guy in the corner holds it up and you go, oh, it's like him plus another half. Just an astonishingly big flag. Just incredible. And out runs Rocco. And Rocco, you suddenly realise he's got the rising sun motif on the forehead band that he wears. And I was looking at that, I was thinking, should have sort of taken that off.
It's confusing. It's confusing.
It is confusing. What's really surprising is how Rocco is still very much the heel, even though he comes out with the big Union Jack.
That's
everyone just hates him.
Like, there'll be constant questions about, like, we are as a nation obsessed with World War II. We just are. It was our finest hour, blah, blah, blah. And so to see Japanese stars being represented so, like, positively in this, compared to how they would do it in the WWE, was, foreign, weird, or evil. Cunning. It was really heartening to sort of see how, I mean, it'd probably be a very different situation if the character was German, but like, it was really heartening to see how little there was in this match and how much they really, really loved, or maybe it's just they fucking hated Rocco.
Well, I mean, look, I was thinking about this the other day about how, and this is retconning, in terms of language, but how progressive British wrestling was. It presented a lot of African wrestlers, sometimes quite naively, but it presented them as heroes, and they were cheered for. There was no sense of, that they were in any way other. They were simply part of the good guys. And it is amazing that, with Yamada, he is just, if you like, a Japanese guy. He doesn't come out like Liger. He doesn't have the incredible mask. He isn't a space alien that's cool. He is just a workman-like Japanese performer. And the crowd embrace him. They just know there's something, so decent and good at his heart that corresponds with Rocco, the man that they've spent years absolutely loathing. He would be given the World Middleweight Championship championship twice on the two sort of short staycations that he had. Once in September 86 and again 6 months later in March 87. And both times he beat Rollerball Rocco and then lost the title back to him. This is the last of those title changes. It went out on ITV. So by this time, they don't put anyone on the ITV show. They put the very, very best. And the fact that on his first tour, they'd given him the belt against Rocco meant that they knew from the day one that he was something special and, you know, was to be treated as such.
Your feelings about Mark Rollerball Rocco? You like him or no?
Don't like Mark Rocco.
Ooh, it's a bit heavy, isn't it? Doesn't Mike... There we are then.
What's not mentioned in this by anyone but Rocco does mention this, is that at the time of the two of them, Rocco had the much more high-profile career in Japan. So since 1982, he'd been performing as Black Tiger, who was the arch nemesis of Tiger Mask. The original anime of Tiger Mask introduced Black Tiger. He is a wrestler trained and sent by a Yakuza-like organisation called the Tiger's Cave. The Tiger's Cave are furious with Tiger Mask, who was a former trainee, because he has publicly turned their back on them and is no longer paying monetary tributes. Just normal thing for a kids' show, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm very certain tigers don't live in caves, do they, as well? Confusing.
But there will be later the Black Tigers as well. It will be taken, the role will be played by Eddie Guerrero, the Mexican performer Silver King, Rocky Romero, and first Japanese Tiger was number 5. It was a guy called Tatsuhito Takaiwa. We are now up to Black Tiger 8. I think. So there's been a lot of them, but the key one is Rocco. But here they are meeting Pete for the heavy middleweight championship of the world. And Pete, the exciting debut of the referee Mal Mason. First time refereeing on television. Mal Mason from Benenden in Kent. Kent Walton does mention quite a few times that this is the debut of Mal Mason.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
care.
I think he's trying to put a friend over. I can't help but think that he's trying to put a friend over there, Mark.
Benenden in Kent rang a bell to me, and I thought, oh, is that where those Range Rover murders happened?
Was it?
No, there have, however, been a surprising amount of murders in Benenden, including in 2018, someone who shot 2 swans and 5 cygnets with a gun and just left them in a plastic bag. It's
half a job.
Very odd. So, I mean, what a match. From the opening 10 seconds, they set up the fact that this is just going to be carnage. They thump into one another for 8 rounds. It is just absolutely unceasing. And Yamada turns out to be a unit.
Yes.
We had no idea that Jushin Liger underneath that top. Absolutely.
Well, he's matching like your Bulldogs. He's very triangular, very, very defined.
Yeah.
And he's
big, broad.
Yeah.
Jelly baby of a boy, huh? Watching this, I mean, how did you find it? Because what's really odd about this is not like a Jushin Liger match that you'd come to know. And it's slightly not like a Rocco match that we've seen
No,
before.
I would expect like Liger to do a bit more high stuff. And what impressed me about him with the stuff like that fucking mad bridge he does around about round 4 where he flips him onto his back and he's
that beautiful bridging German
all
suplex.
On his toes of his feet. It is absolutely William Regal-esque. Spotless.
Oh, it's a thing of beauty, isn't it? And I feel for like Rocco that he must have had that thing of, you know, he remembers the times when he took on Dynamite Kid and they created magic. And then there's a few years and then you've got this young lad and you go, do you know what? This feels as good as it did before. This is like my Tiger Mask Dynamite Kid and I've got another one. And you can see with all of these guys who are great, they have one early opponent in common who they kept on having matches with, and that is Rollerball Rocco. He improves everybody, and it's so sad that sort of he gets left behind. Whether it's timing or whether it was look, whatever it is, you can see that he is absolutely the kingpin in this entire division for years.
Rocco grabbing his belt to show everybody that's the one he's going to get back here this afternoon. Trying it on for size.
What's really noticeable to me about this match is that I think Rocco is using this as a tape that is going to go back to Japan. So this is a match that he's going to win. It's going to be on television. And it's against a Japanese performer. And he spends a lot of the match shouting to New Japan officials. So at one point he starts going, "Come on now, Mr. Inoki. Come on." And
come on now, Mr. Inoki. Come on now, Mr. Inoki.
Mr. Inoki, otherwise calling him Mr. Inoki.
Kent Walton has to go, mentioned there probably for the first time of Antonio Inoki, great Japanese wrestler. I'm not sure. Maybe he was involved in the training of... And I think what Rocco's doing is he's using this to go, Inoki will see me.
And he'll want to fight
he'll
me.
have to... Yeah, he's not going to like hearing that, is he? He'll need to put me in a main event against his good self. And a little later on, he does a Scorpion Deathlock, and as he goes into it, he shouts out, come on, Ricky! Come on, Ricky! Which is... It's the finishing move of Ricky Chosu, who at the time was one of New Japan's biggest
He's just
stars.
shouting. Is he being a bit jingoistic and a bit kind of like, I'm fighting a Japanese man, so I'm fighting all of the Japanese stars?
It would be, but the audience, both in the venue and at home, would never have heard of Ricky Chosu.
Right.
They would never have heard of Antonio Inoki. So it does seem like he's angling himself to kind of go, if they watch this match, when it gets back to them, where's he from? If they watch this match, he's from Manchester, isn't he? They watch this match, Mr. Inoki will hear me and he'll be like, I better book that guy. I better book him to shut his mouth up. He shouts when he's doing the Scorpion Deathlock. He says, even Inoki can't beat this one, he says. And so he's doing a little bit of business for himself.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe that's the reason he never got over in Japan.
Yeah, just keep shouting. I mean, knowing what I know about the production standards of the 1980s in wrestling in the UK, I would not be judging those microphones to be up to the task for getting your message across at all.
I'd watched it on telly and entirely missed those, and it was only when I had it on YouTube with my headphones in. But I was like, I can hear extra stuff.
Yes.
Can he come back with a submission here? Just Fuji shaking his head.
My favourite part about this is Kent Walton. The one problem with the surname Yamada is it sounds a bit like your mother.
Yeah.
And Kent Walton is, Inoki probably had a lot to do with training your mother, he says. What did you fucking say, Walton? What did you...
Fuji Yamada of...
Oh, that's it for your mother, he says.
What are you doing behind there?
Yeah, there's a great bit of Kent Walton as well where they're just, I mean, Rocco is ranting and Kent Walton starts going, I'm not sure who he's talking to, but he's looking at me, talking to the ref, looking straight at me. And it's like, well, I mean, you're in the room.
Yeah.
Don't, it sounds like he's mad because it does sound like he's not in the room.
Right, okay. Oh,
And
yeah, do you reckon he's trying... Yeah.
So
when you see, football commentators where they're commentating on a match that is somewhere else, you know what I mean?
In a hotel room, watching it on Sky Sports,
exactly.
having a finger hanging over the mute button for when the adverts come on and they just have to do a bit of fill.
You can see the level of expectancy.
was a fucking
Eamon.
bog.
You can see the level of expectancy.
Oh, yeah. No, I take the feeling. I mean, when Neymar was shaping up to take that penalty, I thought he was fucking dreading it. Sorry,
We're on air.
Oh, we're not, are we?
We are. Well, I apologise for that, but obviously...
I'm sorry.
But it just... He's looking at me. That's weird. Don't like it. Don't like it looking at me.
Please stop looking at me.
Stop. Rocco just going, you know what I think money would be? Fucking me and Kent get
like
that
nobody...
old bean sprout in the fucking ring.
Nobody concentrated on the task at hand.
That's the corner where Mark Rocco got his public warning just now. Oh, high drop kick. Seemed to be in the air for seconds there before it landed. And he's going out after him. Referee counting them both.
I mean, what a match, though. What a great match. Yamada gets the first fall with that bridging German suplex that is beautiful. There's a bit earlier where he does a top rope elbow where Rocco is on the other side of the ring and he just flies across. You go, there's no way he's going to get him. And he does. And Rocco just rolls out going, oh, crikey. Oh, crikey. And I was like, that definitely should have been a pinfall. That is bad. But then Rocco equalises with a double underhook suplex. And then very, very quickly in the next round 7, Yamada misses a top rope drop kick. There's a bit of thumping. You see an old woman doing a really good point as well. Really odd to see Jushin Liger and a really old British pensioner. Yeah, really shouting. And Rocco hits his tombstone pile driver and you get the 3 count. And it's... I mean, what a performance by both men. Just absolutely everything. A really sort of Japanese-style match in the world of sport rings. You have 2 guys who have got a lot of Japanese experience putting it on for the good people of Lewisham. Just, Walton really undersells the end as well. He sort of goes, well, Rocco got him. The belt's on him again.
It's so understated,
and that's about
isn't it?
From the Lewisham Theatre. He says,
And the belt's on him again. And that's about it from here at the Lewisham Theatre.
Could have Could have sold that a bit better. Ken, but I mean, no one criticises Ken Walton. He is just in a class of his own. Gordon Soley has the American commentator has a similar sort of, well, we're just watching this and we're going to explain what's happening and then we're all going to be dignified.
Next Saturday's bill will be topped by the really big man, Giant Haystacks versus John Kowalski. Meantime, it's bye from all of us at Catford. Have a good week. Till next week.
If you'd have polished it a little bit, never giving it back to me dirty like this. I polished this belt every day of my life. Next time I see you, I want to take it out of your hide for letting my belt get in a dirty state.
I don't know why he's talking to him. He doesn't understand a word of English.
Just tell him who the champion is.
Flying Fuji Yamada. So let's hear from... I watched this match at Lewisham Theatre in 87. Fuji Yamada held the theatre exit door open for me and my mate after signing autographs for us. Nice, polite fellow, as you'd expect of a Japanese man.
And I copied and pasted that exact comment onto my running order as well, Mark, because it just was going towards a line I wasn't necessarily comfortable with. It had a little dance around and then just stopped. So good on him. Good on him.
I like. Is it racist to say a people
are polite?
Polite. Yeah, because you're making a generalisation about an entire group of people. Yeah. Not all Japanese people are polite.
No, let's redress that balance. Yeah.
Yeah. At Sushi Anita, not polite. Beat Takeshi. I don't get the impression he's polite.
He's everywhere. No, he's everywhere. I'm trying to think of other Japanese people.
Yakuza can be troublesome.
Yakuza. I was going to say Shinzo Abe had some weird policies, but then he got executed, didn't he? So, I'm trying to think of more Japanese people. Let's finish there. Let's end there, shall we?
Okay, I don't tend to generalise them as just Japanese people. I think they're all individuals. It's on YouTube, and it took place at the Lewisham Theatre in Catford. That theatre is still there. It's now called the Broadway. It's got good lineups as the old Broadway in Lewisham. Frankie Boyle is on.
Yeah.
I noticed his show policies: no phones, no latecomers, no readmittance. I thought, so someone who's sort of prides himself on being sort of quite unacceptable. I thought, weird that he's a lot of rules and regs. No readmittance.
Yeah, I would say that also. Like, how are you policing the phones thing? Are you doing that thing where you got to put the phones in the bag? I mean, I guess it makes sense, but
I mean, rules.
Someone's not. Just shout over him in a big Scottish voice.
They've got the Supervet, Noel Fitzpatrick. He is going to be doing his show in November. Right. He takes to the stage this autumn as he brings his uplifting and motivating show back on the road, told with passion, humour and raw truth, learned from the thousands of animals he's helped throughout his career.
It's a bad day for us to be talking about this news, about that, Mark, because I now don't trust anyone who is an animal expert on television.
Did you know that he used to go out with Kathy Dennis, the former pop star and songwriter, and she wrote the song Toxic, sung by Britney Spears, about the Supervet Noel Fitzpatrick.
Nice, good. You can tell he's got that glint in his eyes that he's done stuff for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That he's been around.
Oh, yeah. I may be a wonderful vet, but I'll tell you this, I can't fix a broken heart that I caused. Yeah. Although I could actually do it in a rabbit.
I've done it several times. Oh, God.
Do you think the name Supervet is because I'm not a good vet? I am a literal super fucking
Awful
vet.
lover, Supervet. That is my name.
I came especially tonight just to see you two because I've been hearing all the news. You've been telling me about the new sensation from Japan.
He's tremendous.
I'm here to see him. I'm sorry, I only just stepped off the plane 2 hours ago. I didn't have time to get here to see him wrestle.
Yeah.
But I heard that he's quite a character. Huh?
He's brilliant,
good, actually. Yeah,
he's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, there's one tonight. He's been in a tag team match tonight, and he's absolutely. And I know our viewers are going to love him, Matt.
Well,
he's fabulous.
Well, I hear it's your birthday today.
Yes, it is. Today's my birthday.
Well, never come to a party empty-handed, so I brought this little present along with you, with me. A nice little. Can you see that?
Can we pick that up on camera? Yeah. Isn't that beautiful?
You know, as I said, I never come along empty-handed to a party, but here you go. And I got another present for you, Nancy Boy Beasley, and here it is right now.
Thank you.